In those final seconds, it really felt like Liluo had come back to her, and Lufan confirmed it. He really had. Seeing how weird Liluo's situation was, they decided to head back to camp. Besides, Shen needed some time to cool off anyway. Out of nowhere, that creepy dark aura from Liluo earlier suddenly reappeared, trying to make a run for it. Lufan didn't waste time. He pulled out his dagger, ready to chase after the dark energy. He took off after it, hoping it might lead him to some new clues about the blood moon. The dark aura vanished the second Lufan's attack hit it, dropping something weird, a purple crystal called Fallen Corpse Essence. Lufan picked it up, figuring they could study it back at camp. Lufei wasn't too sure about keeping something like that around, worried it might mess with the rest of the team. Lufan reassured him the crystal was safe with him, but they needed to hand it over to Grandmaster Jing as soon as possible. After that, Lufan suggested they hold a proper burial for Liluo. A little later, Shen stepped up to lead the ceremony. She prayed for Liluo's soul, hoping she'd find peace in the afterlife. Once it was over, Shen stood up and thanked everyone for being there. She even managed to smile, saying she felt better now and was ready to keep moving forward. Lufei was glad to see Shen holding up strong. He gave the order to head back to camp. As they left Liluo's resting place behind, her pride badge stayed behind as a reminder. The next morning, Lufan reported everything that happened and handed the crystal over to Jing. Lufan had a theory. Ordinary monsters couldn't just become servants of the ancient gods because they weren't smart enough. That meant the ancient gods didn't pick just anyone either. They'd only go for humans with real potential. So you couldn't just become a servant by having a crystal. You had to actually be chosen. The ancient gods themselves had to acknowledge you. Jing remembered some secret organization that claimed to be divinely blessed. They were super aggressive about spreading their beliefs and recruiting followers. Based on Lufan's theory, that group might actually be underlings of the ancient gods. Then it hit Lufan. He asked about the population up north, which was pretty much just their camp. Next, he brought up the missing soldiers. Jing went pale, immediately catching his drift. Lufan confirmed it. Those soldiers only had two options left. Either they were dead, or they'd turned into fallen corpses. He suggested putting together an elimination team to deal with them. Jing felt a pang of sadness, thinking about what his men had been through, but Lufan tried to cheer him up, saying the Griffin troops would have understood. Jing was stuck on what to do with the cursed crystal, but Lufan's idea is to use it for experiments. Jing wasn't sure what to test it on. No way was he using humans. Lufan shrugged and planned to try it on his dragon. Jing wasn't buying Lufan's ridiculous idea. If those dragons were really affected, they'd be done for. Lufan quickly calmed Jing down, clarifying that he wasn't talking about Nyx at all. That statement threw Jing for a loop, leaving him wondering what Lufan actually meant. They reached an open field area to run their little experiment. Lufan let Jing know he'd be using his summoned dragon for this. He called Fei over and told her to summon 2 more dragons using her skills. Fei did as she was told, raising her hand as 2 more dragons materialized out of nowhere. Finally, Jing connected the dots and realized what Lufan had been hinting at earlier. Lufan signaled Jing to get his weapon ready, just in case things went south. He handed Fei the crystal and ordered the Flying Dragon King's soul to swallow it. Without hesitation, Fei tossed the crystal straight at the dragon, and just like that, the dragon gobbled it up. Then, out of nowhere, something crazy happened. A dark aura started oozing out of the Flying Dragon King's soul's body as it let out a deafening roar. Jing saw the dragon beginning to turn into a fallen corpse and raised his weapon, ready to finish it off. But Lufan told him to hold on a little longer. The 2 dragons started transforming at an insane speed. Lufan told Fei to try controlling them since she was their master. Fei pushed herself to the limit, wrestling for control over the dragon's consciousness. Seeing them resist even harder, she cranked her magic up to max power. Suddenly, both dragons morphed into black-scaled beasts, fallen corpse demon dragons. And then, shockingly, they bowed to Fei, proving they hadn't lost their minds. The whole experiment just confirmed Lufan's theory. Jing couldn't help but feel lucky about scoring 2 new dragons. Meanwhile, Fei, being her usual clingy self, immediately went in for a hug with her master. Grandmaster Jing decided to move forward with the exploration mission, with the next stop being the church. The next day, the team set out toward their destination. Lufan warned everyone to stay sharp. Then, out of nowhere, his system pinged him about a divine treasure map location nearby. Shen suddenly spotted something up ahead. A snowy mountain stood under the sunlight, its icy surface reflecting the light in a way that looked almost unreal. They picked a spot to set up a temporary camp. Once they landed, they noticed a massive chain nearby, and Lufei couldn't help but wonder what the heck it was holding down. Just then, Lufan's system notified him that he'd reached the divine treasure map's marked spot. He scanned the area and found a snow mound shaped like a dragon egg. Sure enough, when he checked, there it was, a gorgeous, shimmering purple dragon egg. Lufan wasted no time storing it away, planning to hatch it later. Out of nowhere, Lufan felt something lying next to the egg, sending a jolt of curiosity through him. He ended up finding a mysterious box, which he picked up and inspected closely. Turns out, inside was an epic-tier magic book called Dragon Language Resonance. This spell could boost both Lufan and his dragon's abilities by a whopping 100%, which was insane. Lufan was beyond satisfied with this unexpected gift and immediately stashed the book away. Shen and Leo called out from behind, urging him to get back to the mission while asking what he was up to. Of course, Lufan played it cool, brushing it off like he was just checking something random. Lufei warned the team to stay sharp since the Northern Territory was vast and full of weird, unpredictable dangers. He had a hunch that the giant chain they spotted might lead straight to the Blood Moon. The team suspected it was restraining some massive entity, maybe even an ancient god itself. Lufan suggested following the chain to investigate, and Liu backed him up, hyping everyone to move. But Captain Lufei reminded them again about the potential unseen threats lurking around. Lufan asked Lufei for permission to scout ahead, and surprisingly, Lufei gave him the green light. Without wasting time, Lufan summoned Nyx in her destroyer form. The moment Nyx appeared, flames swirling around her, it left Lufei and the others in awe. As usual, they decided to wait there, telling Lufan to come back immediately if things got dangerous. Lufan and Nyx took off, flying straight toward their destination. 2 hours later, suddenly the system flashed a warning. They'd just entered the fallen corpse ruins area. Lufan wondered if this place had something similar to what they'd seen at the church. Out of nowhere, Nyx froze and let out a fierce roar, which wasn't like her at all. Lufan knew something was off. Nyx never acted this way unless there was real trouble. After scanning the area, he spotted a massive coffin wrapped in the same chains they'd been tracking. He tried using the system to analyze it, but it came up blank. No info, no clues, nothing. Then, a bone-chilling feeling crept over Lufan, like something was watching them. A towering black figure lurked beneath the giant coffin, its gaze locked onto Lufan and Nyx. Nyx went wild, roaring uncontrollably, and Lufan struggled to calm her down. Seeing Nyx so agitated, Lufan knew this thing was bad news, especially since the system couldn't even detect it. He wasn't about to take any stupid risks. The shadowy figure rushed toward them. They'd been spotted. Lufan ordered Nyx to retreat, but the thing chased them, moving even faster than she could. Lufan wasn't just going to roll over, though. He activated Whisper of the Wind, boosting his agility by 35% for a speed burst. Thanks to their synchronization, Nyx's speed skyrocketed too. Eventually, the creature couldn't keep up and gave up the chase. Lufan thanked his lucky stars he'd switched to the Dragon Rider class. Otherwise, they'd have been toast. Back at camp, Liu noticed something flying toward them just as they were setting up tents. He was relieved to see Lufan return safely, though something felt off. Liu asked if Lufan had found anything new out there. Lufan quickly filled them in on the terrifying black figure that had chased them, something way too dangerous to mess with. He urged everyone to teleport back to camp as soon as possible, throwing the whole team into panic mode. Liu couldn't believe it. Lufan, who never backed down from a fight, was actually running away this time. After returning to camp, they immediately reported everything they'd encountered to Grandmaster Jing. Jing ordered them to explore the area further. Otherwise, they'd end up wiped out like what happened to the Morgan family. Lufan stressed how dangerous that shadowy figure was, someone even unsettling enough to make Nyx uneasy. Jing agreed, If even dragons were afraid of this thing, he'd mark the area as forbidden territory. Without delay, Jing canceled all missions for exploration teams heading there. Then he handed them a new assignment, assisting scholars in researching the fallen corpse ruins. Jing praised Lufan's performance. In less than a month, he'd led the team to multiple discoveries. As a reward, Jing gave Lufan a silver badge, an honor straight from the Griffin troops. Lufan panicked, trying to refuse the promotion. He'd just arrived, and this would stir up too much drama. But Jing insisted, making it clear Lufan would lead his own team after graduating from the academy. Lufei and Shen looked thrilled for him, while Liu could only sulk, green with envy. Seeing their genuine support, Lufan finally accepted the badge without hesitation. Jing then told Lufan to stick around a little longer. The Grandmaster actually wanted him to stay, but time wasn't on their side. Rushing to his bookshelf, Jing pulled out a volume. He handed Lufan a book packed with info on the national exam. Then he told him to start prepping for the big test. Lufan admitted he didn't want to leave the region, but he couldn't ignore his main goal either. Confidence flashed in his eyes. He knew he'd dominate the upcoming competition. Meanwhile, over in Tai, Jinhan was grinding levels to get ready for the national exam. Jinzhu worried her brother's abyssal crawler wouldn't evolve in time, but Jinhan just smirked, creepily assuring her he'd level up by devouring a few living souls. Out of nowhere, a family, husband, wife, and baby, spotted Jinhan training and kindly invited him to rest at their place. Sadly, their hospitality got them slaughtered instead, as Jinhan harvested their lives for power. Shen, witnessing the brutality, warned Jinhan not to harm civilians. Jinhan ignored him and butchered the family without remorse. Shen stood there, silent, swallowing the injustice. Jinhan mocked him for being a useless deadweight, with zero progress. Shen stayed quiet, too crushed to respond. Elsewhere, in Heng, a group of participants was gathering. One of them, Kiran, proposed an alliance with 3 other competitors for the national exam. Weiji, a muscular woman representing the Han nation, agreed. Her country had already arranged this. Another guy, Yasan Lai from the southern nation, was just as confident they'd clinch the top spots. Over at a snowy volcano, guards urged their young master to hurry up and depart. Then a dude with a massive axe showed up, demanding they escort him instead. Back in the Star Nation, Charles Morgan boasted absolute confidence that no way he'd lose this year's exam. 2 days later, Lufan was buried under paperwork, cramming every detail from Jing's book. His entire exploration team, plus Grandmaster Jing himself, showed up to cheer him on. Jing even offered to personally escort him back to the Dragon Nation's capital. With calm determination, Lufan assured them he'd take first place. As soon as Lufan arrived at the academy, he headed straight to the principal's office to meet with him. The vice principal greeted Lufan and introduced the 2 people standing behind him. They were guards sent by the academy to ensure Lufan's safety during his trip to Tai country. The principal himself would be joining Lufan, and they'd be leaving the next day on a private jet. The vice principal reminded Lufan to get some proper rest and told him to ask for anything he needed. Hearing that, Lufan casually requested a slot expansion scroll without hesitation. His relaxed demand shocked the vice principal so much that he spat out the tea he was drinking. The vice principal guessed Lufan had gotten a new dragon, but Lufan just said he wanted it as a precaution. Apologetically, the vice principal explained they didn't have any extras of that item in stock. Lufan didn't make a big deal out of it. He just asked the guards to let him go somewhere. Lufan eventually returned to Aunt Han and the others at Villa Number 2, and Aunt Han was visibly overjoyed to see him back. She immediately invited him for dinner, and the table was filled with delicious dishes she had cooked herself. She urged Lufan to share stories about his experiences in the northern region. On that warm night, they talked for hours while enjoying the amazing food spread out before them. Suddenly, Lufan remembered someone very important to him. He pulled out his unmelting ice accessory, deciding to visit his senior before his departure. Xiaoman, who accidentally spotted the gorgeous necklace, started teasing him about it. Lufan quickly excused himself, telling them he had somewhere to be. Lufan went to the private training arena, unlocked a room, and waited for his senior to arrive. After waiting for a long time, he figured she wasn't coming that day. He considered asking Miss Du from the auction house for his senior's phone number. In the end, he decided to call Miss Du and ask about his senior's whereabouts. Miss Du told him his senior had gone back home due to some family matters. She then instructed Lufan to come by because his senior had left something with her. A few hours later, Lufan arrived at Tianhua auction house, where Lufan was still guarded by bodyguards. Lufan complimented the auction house's growing popularity, and Miss Du credited it all to him for registering the dragon egg. He initially thought about registering his newly acquired dragon egg, but didn't want to take any risks, so he changed his mind. Miss Du promptly handed over the item his senior had left for him. Lufan inspected it and found a red dagger and a spellbook inside. The Flame Meteorite Sword, a legendary tiered dagger, could amplify fire attacks, absorb fire attribute damage, and release it. When Lufan picked it up, the dagger felt incredibly light, almost as if it had been forged specifically for him. Miss Du confirmed it was. His senior had paid close attention to his fighting style and designed this weapon just for him. Next, Lufan checked the red spellbook using his system. Magma Burst Skillbook. It could summon a magma pool to trap enemies, dealing massive damage over time. There was also a letter left behind, which Miss Du jokingly called a love letter for Lufan. In it, his senior apologized for missing his championship win at the national exam. She hoped he liked the gifts this time and joked that he'd have to pay her back someday. She promised to return soon, treat him to a meal, and train together afterward. She also threatened to punish him if he didn't take first place in the national exam, making Lufan smile awkwardly as he read it. Miss Du, curious about what was on his mind, noticed him deep in thought. Lufan thanked her for delivering the gifts. Then, he asked Miss Du if she had a pet expansion scroll. Miss Du apologized to Lufan with deep regret, explaining that she didn't have the item he was looking for. She clarified items like that were only meant for hunters and summoners, and hardly anyone even searched for them anymore. Lufan quickly dropped the idea of hatching another egg and decided to focus on leveling up Astra instead. Miss Du promised to keep an eye out for any other items he might need and save them for him. Lufan thanked her before saying his goodbyes and heading out. On his way home, he gave up on finding a pet expansion scroll since he was leaving the next day anyway. His training up north had only earned him experience and contribution points, so he planned to level up Astra during the early stages of the national exam. Out of nowhere, Ying was waiting for him outside his door and greeted him. She noticed a hint of restlessness on Lufan's face. Curious, Lufan asked why she was standing outside alone, and Ying admitted she'd been waiting for him. She wanted to spar with him to see how much stronger he'd gotten. Lufan agreed. He'd been itching to test out his new weapon anyway. Once they reached the training arena, Lufan immediately studied the Magma Burst book and pulled out his dagger. Not one to back down, Ying drew all her trusted swords. She was genuinely curious about how much Lufan had improved after his northern training. Without hesitation, Ying lunged at him, unleashing a flurry of sword strikes. Lufan braced himself, countering with his red dagger. He channeled the dragon sword aura into his blade, slashing hard to block Ying's assault. Ying followed up with Evil Surge, but Lufan dodged it effortlessly. The lightweight dagger made his movements even more agile. The more he used it, the more natural it felt in combat. Seizing the moment, Lufan launched a heavy strike. Ying blocked it with one of her best swords. The clash sent a shockwave of energy rippling through the area. Ying praised Lufan for growing stronger, even without his dragon. Lufan could tell Ying had improved too. Her 5-sword combo forced him to stay sharp. She then used Mountain Shaker, a wide-range physical attack, but Lufan leaped out of the way just in time. Ying admitted she always felt like she was playing catch-up with him, yet she felt safer when she was by his side. Sincerely, she told him she believed he could take first place in the national exam. Confidently, Lufan promised her he would. The next day, Aunt Han and the others saw Lufan off, cheering him on and wishing him luck. He told them not to worry and said his goodbyes. Soon, they arrived at the airport, where a private plane from the academy was waiting. During the flight, Lufan silently vowed to make the most of this opportunity and rise to the top in Dragon Nation. A few hours later, they landed at their destination. The vice principal mentioned that an overseer from the Dragon Country was already waiting for them, which made Lufan curious. He explained that every nation sent not just representatives but also overseers to ensure all rules were followed. This particular overseer had been handpicked by the Dragon Country's highest authorities, so Lufan needed to show respect. Suddenly, the bodyguards dropped to their knees in salute, and the vice principal warned Lufan to watch his manners. Lufan was still confused by their sudden change in attitude. The overseer told everyone to stand and skip the formalities. He was an elderly man flanked by 4 of the Dragon Country's top bodyguards, and he greeted Lufan warmly. The vice principal was totally caught off guard when he saw the Dragon Nation's overseer personally coming to greet them. The vice principal then introduced Lufan to the overseer, who noticed Lufan looking a little awkward in the whole situation. The overseer laughed and praised Lufan for already having a dragon at such a young age. The overseer was convinced Lufan would become a real hero when he returned, though Lufan thought the guy was laying it on way too thick. The overseer, referred to as Mr. Han, mentioned he knew Grandmaster Jing well and told Lufan to seek him out if he ever ran into trouble. As they got into the car, Mr. Han asked Lufan to tell Grandmaster Jing to find him directly if he ever couldn't help Lufan himself. Curious, Lufan asked the vice principal who Mr. Han really was, and the vice principal dropped his full name, Han Feibai. That's when it clicked for Lufan. Mr. Han was one of the 3 great elders who held the highest decision-making authority in the Dragon Nation. Lufan never expected that taking the national exam would lead him to meet someone as big deal as Mr. Han. During the car ride, Lufan couldn't shake his curiosity and finally asked the vice principal about something bugging him. He admitted he couldn't sense any powerful aura from Mr. Han and wondered if his own level was just too low to detect it. The vice principal laughed at that, explaining that Mr. Han was just an ordinary guy, a level 40 chef of all things. Lufan straight up didn't believe what he was hearing. The vice principal went on to explain that out of the 3 great elders, only 1 was a combat type who'd reached the 5th tier. The other 2 were weak support class professionals. But Mr. Han had 4 bodyguards known as the Legendary Swords, who'd willingly sworn loyalty to him despite his weak profession. Finally understanding, Lufan realized he couldn't underestimate these guys, even if their professions seemed weak on paper. Soon, one of Lufan's guards announced they'd arrived at their destination. A huge crowd was already swarming the entrance of the exam building. The second reporters spotted Lufan as the Dragon Nation's representative, and they rushed over for interviews. They tried to swarm him, but Lufan's bodyguards smoothly cut them off before things got out of hand. A little annoyed by the chaos, Lufan quickly ducked inside the building. By that evening, Lufan and the vice principal had made it to the meeting hall. At first, Lufan wanted to explore the area, but reporters were still camped outside. Then, he spotted a familiar face in the distance. It was Jinhan, the older brother of Jinzhu, the princess Lufan absolutely couldn't stand. Jinhan noticed Lufan's glare too, locking eyes with him. Out of nowhere, an overseer from Tai Nation saw Mr. Han and immediately went to greet him. The Tai overseer introduced himself respectfully, and it turned out everyone knew Mr. Han and his legendary bodyguards. Lufan politely offered Mr. Han a seat, and soon, whispers about their connection spread through the room. Then, the Tai overseer kicked off the welcome ceremony with a few short speeches. The participants got hyped, hearing about the delicious food Tai Nation had prepared for them. But the vice principal wasn't buying it. He warned Lufan that Tai's cuisine was unconventional. When the food covers were lifted, the dishes were nothing like what anyone expected. Even Lufan thought it had to be some kind of insult. He questioned why a national specialty was just cheap, fast food, and Mr. Han confirmed it. Tai Nation was seriously lacking in food resources. Lufan sighed. Even his Aunt Han's home cooking blew this out of the water. Then it hit him. He'd actually brought some of his aunt's food from home. One of the other participants, Andre, was already fuming. He called out the terrible quality and tiny portions, saying it was downright embarrassing. Jinhan coldly told him to leave if he didn't like it. That set Andre off, his combat aura flaring up in anger. A small scuffle broke out until the Tai overseer and Andre's own supervisor stepped in. Andre threatened Jinhan, telling him to stay out of his sight during the exam unless he wanted to get wrecked. Jinhan shot back with the exact same threat. Andre's supervisor tried to calm him down, but Andre, still raging, told him to give his portion to a dog instead. Then, an incredible smell hit Andre's nose, nothing like the garbage Thai nation served. His eyes landed on the spread on Lufan's table, steaming dumplings and other mouth-watering dishes that instantly grabbed his attention. Lufan explained it was his aunt's cooking. She'd worried he wouldn't adjust to Thai's food, and turns out she was totally right. He noticed Andre staring, clearly starving and eyeing the food like it was treasure. Lufan invited him over, casually throwing shade that this meal was way better than whatever Thai nation had tried to pass off as food. Andre happily accepted Lufan's offer, feeling grateful as he thanked him. He grabbed one of the dumplings he'd been eyeing, hesitating for a second, hoping it wouldn't taste as bad as the food from Thai country. The moment he took the first bite, his brain short-circuited from the explosion of flavors, like a volcano erupting in his mouth. It was way more complex and delicious than he expected. Lufan invited him to sit and eat together, and Andre, totally pumped, thanked him again. Lufan also offered some food to Uncle Han and the vice principal, making sure no one was left out. Jinhan, meanwhile, was getting more annoyed hearing Andre straight up praise the Dragon Country's cooking. Everyone dug in happily, with Andre not shutting up about how amazing Aunt Han's food was. Jinhan felt humiliated and started plotting something against Lufan, but the Thai country supervisor shut him down, telling him to cool off. A second later, the supervisor got everyone's attention. He showed them the full map for the national exam competition, explaining the setup. Each section had its own terrain and monsters matching their natural habitats. Proudly, he announced they'd combined 9 different zones to create the biggest battlefield in history. Points were based on how rare the monsters were, meaning the tougher the monster, the higher the score. Then he dropped another rule: mission points. Every zone had random missions, and finishing them would give bonus points, but they had to complete one before grabbing another. No stacking missions, strictly one at a time. Lufan already had a hunch about what Thai country was planning for him. Uncle Han just laughed, loving the wild new rules, while Lufan knew this was going to be a bloodbath for points. Kiran asked about the skull symbol on the map. The overseer explained it marked the Dark Towers. Each zone had one, moving randomly, and they were packed with dangerous monster armies. Even worse, each tower was led by a boss, a demon of the 9 realms. The students freaked out, protesting since those demons had nearly wiped out Thai country once. The vice principal clarified to Lufan that they were ancient monsters Thai country had sealed away. 50 years ago the seal broke, and it took 5 level 4 heroes to lock them up again. It had been a close call. Kiran asked if the demons in the towers were weakened. The supervisor, way too excited, said they were at full power. No nerfs here. The students thought Thai country had lost it, putting something that deadly in an exam. Andre agreed, saying they'd need at least 10 people of their level to stand a chance. Lufan raised his hand and asked how many points they'd get for taking one down. The others laughed, telling him the demons were just there to add pressure, not to be beaten. But the overseer answered anyway. The points would be insane, way higher than anything else. Wrapping things up, he wished everyone luck before ending the meeting. The students started heading out. Lufan and Uncle Han said their goodbyes, planning to rest up. Uncle Han was seriously curious about what Lufan would do next. Back in his room, Lufan brainstormed strategies for the exam, still unsure what move to make. Then, his phone buzzed. He checked it and found a ranking prediction the experts had put together. Lufan couldn't help but feel annoyed when he saw himself being compared to Jinhan in the media. He thought the so-called professional outlets were just spouting nonsense without any real substance. Then, he noticed someone below him creeping close to his position, definitely someone to keep an eye on. The next day, the national exam officially kicked off, with all the candidates lined up on the welcoming stage. The host instructed the participants to look up at the sky. A glowing blue portal appeared, the gateway to the secret realm of the exam. In an instant, the portal sucked in every participant, marking the start of the international competition between nations' representatives. Lufan stood there, completely confident that he'd claimed the top spot. Meanwhile, Aunt Han and the others watched Lufan's match from their TV screens. So did his teammates, who were stationed up in the northern region. Even Grandmaster Jing tuned in, curious to see how Lufan would perform. Mr. Han and the vice principal didn't want to miss out either, so they watched from the VIP lounge. After teleporting into the secret realm, Lufan found himself in the middle of a freezing, snow-covered wasteland. Lucky for him, this was the northern region, a map he knew like the back of his hand. He checked his location using the wrist device provided to all participants. The screen showed him smack in the center of a vast, empty tundra. A mission point blinked in the far corner of the map, and he immediately decided to head there. Without hesitation, Lufan summoned both Nyx and Astra at the same time. He ordered Astra to team up with Nyx to help level him up faster, but Astra just lazily curled up on his shoulder and dozed off, leaving Lufan frustrated at having a pet that wouldn't listen. Shaking his head, he set off with Nyx toward their destination. Meanwhile, Jinhan had been dropped into a desert zone, another familiar battlefield for him. He activated one of his signature skills, Abyss Entangler, to scout the area. The ability had a 2-hour cooldown, but could revive him if he died. Before his shadow creature could even take a few steps, a sword suddenly pierced through it. The attack came from Musashi, a samurai representing his nation. Jinhan was pissed. They were supposed to be allies, and now Musashi had just killed his shadow. Musashi sheathed his sword, casually wondering if he'd get points for taking out Jinhan's summon. To make up for it, he offered to help Jinhan take down Lufan instead. Jinhan tried to walk away, but Musashi kept following him like a lost puppy. Finally, Jinhan reminded him of their original plan. He'd handle Lufan, while Musashi dealt with the Black Dragon. Then, Jinhan dropped a bombshell. The Dark Tower automatically attacked anyone who got too close. That sent Musashi into a panic since he only had one life, while Jinhan could revive himself. Smirking, Jinhan cast a spell, hitting Musashi square in the chest. The spell was Abyss Contract, linking their lives together. Now, if Jinhan died, he'd revive. But so would Musashi. But if Jinhan bit the dust, Musashi would go down with him too. Musashi made a promise not to betray Jinhan, and in return, Jinhan swore he'd lift his curse once the exam was over. Their plan was simple: grab a mission first, let the Dark Tower wipe out the other candidates, and then make their move afterward. Musashi spotted a mission marker in the distance and decided to go for it, but that marker was a trap. Only he knew where the real one was hidden. Musashi couldn't help but wonder what kind of trap mission Jinhan was talking about. Jinhan just shrugged it off, saying it was an impossible mission anyway. 5 hours later, the temporary scoreboard popped up, showing Charles in the lead with 20,000 points, followed closely by Andre at 18,000. Meanwhile, Lufan was sitting at a measly 23rd place with only 257 points to his name. People weren't holding back. Everyone had something nasty to say about Lufan's performance, while the vice principal seemed lost in thought. But Mr. Han just casually poured himself some tea, not a single worry on his face. He relaxed, like he was watching some drama on TV, completely unfazed. Turns out, Lufan hadn't been wasting time killing monsters along the way. He was laser-focused on finding the Dark Tower. A flying lion monster ambushed him head-on, but Lufan just dodged and kept running, leaving them all behind. He didn't have time to waste fighting every monster in his path. There were only 2 ways to score big: take down an ancient beast or eliminate another player. Suddenly, Lufan noticed a fight up ahead. His wrist device buzzed, notifying him of a mission marker nearby. Some guy was busy battling a Yeti, completely absorbed in the fight. After he killed the Yeti, the guy considered grabbing the mission for himself, but then he felt it. An overwhelming presence bearing down on him, sending chills down his spine. And there she was, standing right behind him, Nyx. The guy nearly jumped out of his skin when he saw her. Lufan casually walked towards him. The guy recognized him, the dragon tamer from the southern province. As Lufan approached, the guy raised his weapon, ready for a fight. But Lufan didn't even glance his way, just strolled right past him. That arrogance pissed the guy off. His country had been humiliated by Grandmaster Jing before, and now he wanted payback. A quick check confirmed Lufan was only level 32, ranked 23rd, easy prey, or so he thought. Without warning, The guy attacked from behind, trapping Lufan in a water prison technique. The watery cage held Lufan tight, or so it seemed. Smug, the guy moved in for the kill, but then a massive claw swiped him sideways. Nyx wasn't about to let some nobody hurt her master. The force of her attack sent the guy flying like a rag doll. He crashed to the ground like an ant getting flicked off a table. Pure terror gripped him. This was a real dragon's power. One strike, and his arm was already broken. Lufan admitted he wasn't interested in cheap shots. Those 5,000 points weren't worth his time. He spared the guy's life, then shattered the water prison like it was nothing. The guy could only gape at the sheer gap between their strengths. But pride still burned in him. He swore he'd kill Lufan and become a hero for the southern nation. Then Nyx roared, and the guy crumpled like a scared child. She leaned in, dragon breath heating his face as he stared death in the eyes. Lufan suggested, calmly, that maybe the guy should back off and let him take the mission. Turned out, the mission required slaying the demon of the 9 realms. Lufan just stood there, silent, like he already knew exactly what the Tai Kingdom was plotting. Out of nowhere, a Yeti monster appeared, ready to attack Lufan, but Lufan didn't even flinch. The monster turned out to be the Icefield Yeti King, a level 75 boss. The guy nearby was pretty convinced Lufan was about to get wrecked this time, but shockingly, the Yeti boss launched a brutal attack at that guy instead, forcing him to dodge in panic. The monster closed in, now standing right in front of him. Just as he was drowning in fear and despair, a crimson glow flashed from behind the Yeti boss. It was Lufan's move, his dagger charged with Nyx's aura. The strike sliced off one of the Yeti's arms, making it scream in agony as green blood splattered everywhere. Nyx then dashed forward, ready to deliver the final blow. One hit from her was all it took to permanently take down the Yeti boss. The fight ended way too fast. Lufan thought it was a cakewalk. This boss was nothing compared to the fallen corpse. The guy finally realized the true power of the dragon. A level 75 boss, gone in one hit. If that attack had landed on him, he'd be 6 feet under for sure. Lufan walked toward him with a sharp glare and dead serious expression, making the guy's fear skyrocket. The man started begging for mercy, but Lufan just walked right past him like he was nothing. Confusion hit him. Why hadn't Lufan killed him? He turned around and noticed the mission point Lufan had taken earlier. That's when it clicked. This was a trap set by the Tai nation for them. Suddenly, he remembered Lufan asking about the demon of the 9 realm before, and wondered if Lufan had actually planned to kill it. Meanwhile, in the VIP room, the vice principal watched as Lufan accepted what seemed like an impossible mission. He immediately protested, demanding answers from the Tai Nation overseer about the fairness of the exam. Aggressively, he insisted they remove the mission, calling it an underhanded trap. But the overseer shut him down, saying he had no right to complain since he wasn't even a Dragon Nation overseer. Mr. Han calmly stepped in, telling the vice principal to sit back down. Han had seen this coming. The Tai Nation was cowardly, and Lufan getting this mission wasn't a coincidence. He also knew about the corruption and monopoly happening behind the scenes. The vice principal couldn't understand why Mr. Han wasn't taking action when this was so unfair to Lufan. But Han wisely said that sometimes people who play dirty end up trapped by their own tricks, and no trick works against absolute power. Besides, this impossible mission was exactly what Lufan wanted. Han told the vice principal to trust him. Finally calming down, the vice principal turned back to the screen, keeping his eyes on Lufan, and what he saw next completely blew his mind. Lufan and Nyx finally reached the Dark Tower. Flying above it, they scoped out the scene. Chains binding a massive structure, swarms of monsters flying around. Pumped up, Lufan motioned to Nyx, ready to wipe out every last one of those monsters. As Lufan approached the Dark Tower, the bat monsters immediately detected his presence and prepared to attack. To Lufan, these monsters were nothing more than easy experience points waiting to be claimed. He signaled Nyx to join him in wiping out the entire horde without hesitation. Lufan woke up the little dragon Astra, ready for battle, though the drowsy creature clearly wasn't fully awake yet. Without wasting time, Lufan ordered Nyx to switch to her destroyer form. Nyx made quick work of the monsters, crushing them like they were nothing more than ants. Suddenly, another wave of enemies appeared. This time, level 75 burrow demons. Lufan was thrilled at the endless waves of monsters, knowing he could wipe them all out with a single skill. Nyx unleashed her lava inferno, engulfing the entire area in scorching flames. Lufan didn't just stand by, he slashed from a distance using Nyx's sword aura, instantly obliterating the remaining monsters. Spotting yet another swarm approaching, Lufan decided he wasn't about to waste time picking them off one by one. He activated Dragon Inspiration, boosting all his and his dragon stats by a solid 30%. Nyx prepared her Cataclysm skill, her body surrounded by raging, superheated flames. Meanwhile, Lufan summoned his legendary Dark Serpent Bow, with Astra hovering close behind him. Nyx unleashed Cataclysm straight into the monster horde. Lufan followed up with his Dark Serpent Bow's special attack, firing magic arrows shaped like serpents with a 500% damage boost. The combined assault triggered a massive explosion right above the Dark Tower. The monsters were completely annihilated, their bodies burning and dropping like flies. Lufan fired another round of magic arrows without pause. The arrows shot through the crowd of monsters before slamming straight into the Dark Tower itself. Nyx amplified the attack by layering her Cataclysm skill over Lufan's arrows. The resulting combo was downright apocalyptic, as if divine punishment had rained down on the monsters. Just like that, Lufan and Nyx had cleared every single monster outside the Dark Tower. Lufan's points skyrocketed by 22,758, shooting him straight from rank 23 to rank 1. He leveled up to 33, and even Astra hit level 12 just by flying around. Everyone was talking about Lufan's sudden jump to first place, acknowledging his bold, frontal strategy as pure genius. The vice principal finally understood what Mr. Han had meant. To Lufan, this mission wasn't a disaster, but a blessing. Mr. Han couldn't help but praise the sheer destruction Lufan and Nyx had unleashed. And that wasn't even considering the other dragons Lufan hadn't summoned yet. The vice principal offered to bring tea, but Mr. Han refused. Tea could wait, but missing even a second of Lufan's rampage was unthinkable. Meanwhile, National Supervisor Tai overheard their conversation and quietly started scheming. He was convinced Lufan would die fighting the ancient boss monster, leaving them to just collect his corpse afterward. The spectators muttered among themselves. The boss was about to emerge, and Lufan still hadn't fled. Suddenly, the chains binding the Dark Tower shattered. Lufan knew what that meant. A stronger wave of monsters was coming. Sure enough, shadowy figures of different monster types began rushing toward him. But Lufan had a plan. Lure them all out and wipe them out in one move. The new monsters included two-headed ogres, wandering pavilions, and demon scouts, all level 75. As soon as they emerged, Lufan motioned for Nyx to clean them up the same way as before. But Astra suddenly charged forward, eager to fight, making Lufan smirk at the little dragon's enthusiasm. That smirk turned to shock when he realized Astra intended to take them on alone. The level gap between him and the monsters was way too big. Astra didn't hesitate. He just charged straight ahead, plowing into the monsters like it was nothing. Lufan freaked out and yelled for him to fall back, but Astra completely ignored him, like he hadn't even heard. Panicking, Lufan told Nyx to back Astra up, hoping she could at least cover him. The two-headed ogre noticed Astra closing in and didn't waste time. It barked orders at the other monsters, and just like that, they all turned to swarm Astra. Meanwhile, Lufan, still riding Nyx, was torn between frustration at Astra's recklessness and sheer curiosity. Part of him wanted to see what Astra was really capable of. Maybe it was time to let the wild dragon follow his instincts. Then Astra activated Star Radiant Scales, a skill that let him absorb and then unleash all the damage he took within 6 seconds in a brutal AoE blast. He moved like lightning, cutting through monsters left and right without mercy. The two-headed ogre tried to smash him with a heavy swing, but Astra was too fast, dodging and countering with a devastating punch. The hit sent the ogre flying backward like a ragdoll. Lufan hadn't expected this untamed dragon to be such a combat prodigy. Maybe helping him wasn't even necessary. Even without orders, Astra's insane battle instincts made him wield his skills like a seasoned warrior. Then he released all the absorbed damage in one explosive burst, obliterating every monster surrounding him. Not done yet, Astra unleashed Star Shatter, a massive, star-based AoE attack that scaled with his strength. Lufan grabbed Nyx and bolted, not wanting to get caught in the blast radius. The magical energy radiating from Astra grew brighter and more intense by the second. Then, boom! The entire area detonated, wiping out the two-headed ogre. Every other monster near Astra was vaporized, leaving nothing behind. Once the dust settled, Astra casually flew back to Lufan like it was just another day. Lufan couldn't help but praise his insane skills and flashy fighting style. Astra, soaking up the compliments, got a little smug. Lufan just laughed awkwardly at his dragon's sudden ego boost. Out of nowhere, an explosion rocked the area from the direction of the Dark Tower. A boss monster, the Black Mountain-Horned Beast, a level 80 frog, emerged, eyeing Lufan and his dragons like prey. But Lufan wasn't scared. He was hyped. Boss meant express and bonus points. He rallied Astra and Nyx, and the trio charged straight at the beast. The frog boss didn't wait. It lashed out with a whip-like tongue attack. Nyx countered with lava explosion, while Astra activated Star Surge, boosting his stamina as the fight went on. Lufan followed up with a slash from his Black Dragon Aura Sword, cutting deep into the boss. The frog staggered, but wasn't down yet. It retaliated with a horn strike, firing like a bullet toward Lufan. Astra stepped in, catching the attack barehanded like it was nothing. Nyx seized the opening, blasting the boss point-blank with another lava explosion. The frog boss leaped into the air, dodging at the last second. But Lufan had predicted the move. He drove his dagger into its body mid-air. Astra wasn't done either. He ripped off one of the boss's horns and hurled it like a spear. The horn impaled the frog's skull, killing it instantly. Lufan's points and levels shot up, and Astra leveled up to 13. With 51,000 points, Lufan now holds the top rank. Meanwhile, Inspector Tai quietly slipped out of the VIP room, his expression unreadable. The Vice Principal and Master Han, though, were pumped, amazed by Lufan's insane performance. Inspector Tai, however, was baffled. How was Lufan taking down monsters that hadn't even been weakened? He ordered all field officers to investigate, convinced there had to be cheating involved. He swore he'd expose Lufan's fraud to the public once he found proof. An hour later, the officials reported back to the Thai country supervisor that everything was running smoothly with 0 issues. The supervisor was pissed and didn't buy the report for a second. He doubled down, ordering his team to check everything again. No shortcuts this time. The crew immediately got to work. Ironically, the trap mechanism designed by Thai country itself ended up scoring points for Lufan instead. The Thai country supervisor decided to cheat by secretly powering up the ancient boss monster in the Dark Tower. The rest of them just crossed their fingers, hoping Jinhan could at least keep up with Lufan's insane point gains. The overseer walked back into the room and caught the audience buzzing about something. Mr. Han suddenly locked eyes with him, grinning like he wanted to personally thank him. Seeing that look, the overseer glanced at the screen and nearly choked in shock. The powerful Dark Tower monsters had been wiped out effortlessly by Lufan alone. With Astra still perched on his shoulder, Lufan ordered Nyx and Astra to keep hunting. Soon enough, they reached the new boss's territory, along with its army. The boss, a knight-type monster, looked terrifying, gripping a massive sword. Facing a level 85 boss, Lufan had no choice but to summon Fei. The monster army charged at him in unison. Lufan commanded Fei to shift into eternal form, her body instantly shrouded in green energy. Fei activated 2 skills at once, Emerald Light for shielding and Emerald Blessing to boost their next attack. Now, they were ready to take on whatever stood in their way. Lufan sliced through monsters left and right with his dagger. Astra, still hyped up, went wild on the monsters without needing orders. He triggered Starlight Scale Armor again, absorbing every hit the monsters threw at him. Lufan coated his dagger with Nyx's aura but suddenly paused, remembering something. He pulled out his Dragon Resonance spellbook. Now that he'd hit level 35, he could finally learn it. Without hesitation, he mastered the spell, which doubled magic power when casting the same spell consecutively. Feeling stronger than ever, Lufan could now resonate perfectly with his dragons. He immediately teamed up with Nyx for a combo attack using his new skill. Extending his hand, he chanted dragon language magic, and Nyx, using lava explosion, a bright red light flared. The spell was active. A massive fireball, blazing like a mini-sun, formed huge, scorching and blinding. The boss and its minions froze, stunned by the spectacle. Nyx unleashed the spell straight at them. The sight of the boss and its army drowning in a sea of flames was downright horrifying. Even Lufan couldn't believe the sheer power he'd just unleashed. That single attack melted the boss, leaving it helpless. Nyx shifted into World Destroyer form and lunged forward, aiming to finish the fight. But shockingly, the boss mustered its last strength to block her strike. Just as Lufan moved in for the kill, Astra blasted the boss with a devastating attack, obliterating it for good. And, of course, Astra couldn't resist trash-talking, telling the boss to go back to hell. The boss shattered into pieces, thanks to Astra's final hit. Lufan praised him, while low-key roasting him for that epic kill steal. Astra leveled up to 15, sensing something different in his body. And yep, he'd unlocked his transformation skill. Lufan quickly checked Astra's status and transformation skill attributes, curious about the changes. Meanwhile, Astra himself was still confused about his new, more mature form. Astra's strength stat had hit a whopping 4,000, which was even higher than Nyx's at the same level. Then, Astra unlocked 2 new transformations: Stellar Radiance form, boosting strength by 500% for 1 minute, and Galaxy form, which could block all physical attacks. Lufan was itching to test Astra's new power, but he suddenly realized no monsters were showing up anymore. Sensing something off, Nyx activated her perception skill to detect any camouflaged enemies. Nothing showed up, so instead of waiting around, Lufan decided to hunt them down himself. They moved toward the center of the Dark Tower, where a glowing purple doorway stretched open in front of them. Inside the Dark Tower, the atmosphere was pitch black, but Nyx stayed sharp, keeping her perception skill active. The echo of their own footsteps told Lufan the place was massive. Suddenly, purple torch flames lit up on their own, revealing a long hallway with no end in sight. Lufan chose to follow the hallway, warning his dragons to stay alert for monster ambushes. They walked for a while, but still found nothing. Then, Lufan felt something coming from the far end of the hallway. At the end of the hallway, Lufan was shocked to see a massive, eerie throne carved with ancient demonic symbols. Sensing monster auras around him, Lufan called them out, telling them hiding was pointless. Slowly, a terrifying dark energy gathered above the throne, forming into something sinister. Lufan could feel deep hatred radiating from it, hatred for humans. The dark energy took shape, becoming the ancient demon of the 9 realms, a massive, single-eyed monster with writhing tentacles. The boss monster, Earthshade Demon, had average stats reaching 35,000. It immediately attacked Lufan, fueled by rage after being sealed away for so long, now forced to serve humans. As it struck, it vowed to wipe out every last human, leaving none alive. But its cruel words didn't match reality. Lufan easily blocked the attack with Fei's shield. Lufan drew his dagger, coating it in Nyx's aura, and ordered Fei to summon 2 more dragons. 2 fallen corpse dragons appeared and lunged at Earthshade Demon. The demon recoiled, sensing something deeply unsettling about them. Ignoring its threats, Lufan fired off a combined lava explosion spell at it, but Earthshade Demon turned into mist, dodging the attack effortlessly. Lufan was stunned and immediately started strategizing another approach. The demon vanished, and even Nyx's perception skill couldn't track it. Out of nowhere, Earthshade Demon reappeared behind Fei, launching a surprise attack. Fei's strong shield managed to block it, but just barely. They were on the defensive now. If this kept up, they'd lose eventually. Lufan's sharp combat instincts warned him of an incoming strike. He barely managed to parry it with his sword. Smirking, Lufan decided he wouldn't let it hide anymore. Suddenly, streaks of starlight shot through Earthshade Demon's body. preventing it from turning to mist again. It was trapped, unable to escape. The attack came from Astra's new form, and Lufan signaled him to keep going. Beautiful constellations of light surrounded the ancient demon, sealing its movements. Then Astra appeared, now in his galaxy form. Earthshade Demon was shocked. It hadn't even sensed Astra's presence until now. Even so, the Earthshade Demon wasn't about to give up that easily. It lunged at Lufan with its massive claws. Lufan dodged just in time and signaled Fei to unleash her soul light. He leaped onto Nyx's head, ready to surround the Earthshade Demon with all 5 of his dragons. Lufan and Fei pulled off a combo spell, dumping every buff they had onto Nyx. Thanks to his Dragon Bloodline passive, Dragon Inspiration, and all of Fei's stacked buffs, Lufan's and Nyx's stats went absolutely insane. Then Lufan unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks on the Earthshade Demon. The demon got wrecked, hard, desperate. It tried taunting Lufan's dragons for bowing to some lowly human. Of course, the provocation fell flat. Lufan had always treated them like family. But the boss kept yapping, throwing out more insults at the dragons. Astra, who'd had enough of its mouth, shot Lufan a look like, "Let's shut this guy up." Lufan caught the hint and pulled out the legendary Dark Serpent bow. Astra charged up his signature Star Dragon magic. Seizing the moment, the Earthshade Demon rushed in for an attack. Nyx wasn't having it. She blocked the strike with a brutal counterpunch. Meanwhile, Lufan gathered energy for his magic arrow. Fei stacked even more attack buffs on top of everything. After a full 3-second charge at max power, Lufan let loose the most devastating shot yet. Astra timed it perfectly, layering his Shattering Star spell right into Lufan's attack. The combined blast slammed into the Earthshade Demon, setting off an explosion so massive it shook the battlefield. The Vice Principal couldn't believe his eyes. Neither could Tai Overseer, who just stood there, stunned. Seeing the situation spiral, Tai Overseer decided it was time to execute his backup plan. But then, his jaw dropped. The Earthshade Demon was still standing. Sure, it was battered beyond belief, barely holding together. Lufan smirked and warned it. The attack wasn't over yet. Had it even noticed the 2 missing fallen corpse dragons? Finally, the Earthshade Demon realized, but it was too late. Both fallen corpse dragons came crashing down with doomfall, sacrificing their vitality to deal a ridiculous 2,000% damage. The Earthshade Demon, stubborn to the end, tried to block the insane hit. The clash of power sent out a shockwave that ripped through the area, ground shaking, rocks obliterated. After that massive collision, the Earthshade Demon was left completely powerless. Lufan moved closer to the boss monster, readying his bow, with his dragons trailing behind him. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. The Earthshade Demon, which had seemed weak just moments ago, was now standing rigidly. It felt an overwhelming surge of power flooding into its body. Lufan was confused. He was sure he had already defeated it. He wondered if this was the Earthshade Demon's second form and quickly used the system's analysis ability to check. The stats of the Earthshade Demon were skyrocketing, reaching an average of 100,000. The Vice Principal sensed something was off, and so did everyone watching. He asked Mr. Han for his opinion on whether they should evacuate Lufan immediately. But Mr. Han just casually sipped his tea and reminded the Vice Principal to trust Lufan. The Vice Principal warned Mr. Han about the Earthshade Demon's stats hitting 100,000. Still, Mr. Han refused to intervene, promising he wouldn't let someone as talented as Lufan die here. Seeing his confidence, the Vice Principal decided to put his full trust in Lufan. Turns out, the Earthshade Demon's sudden power boost was the doing of the Tai Overseer. He had ordered his subordinates to manipulate the ancient boss monster's stats, convinced Lufan wouldn't survive this time. Little did he know, Mr. Han was already aware of his schemes. Back in the battle, Lufan smirked at the Earthshade Demon for celebrating too soon. He planned to finish it off before it grew even stronger. Lufan commanded Fei to summon 2 more fallen corpse dragons. Realizing Lufan was setting up a deadly combo attack, the boss lunged to stop him, but Lufan already had a plan. He ordered Nyx to unleash her dragon's roar. Nyx let out a deafening scream straight at the Earthshade Demon. The attack left it completely immobilized for a few critical seconds. Lufan then cast dragon language magic on the two fallen corpse dragons, transforming the Doomfall attack into a lethal wave of demonic energy. The blast struck the Earthshade demon head-on, inflicting it with the frailty debuff. Enraged, the boss tried to retaliate, but its body suddenly froze. It couldn't move at all, leaving it baffled. Lufan bid the Earthshade demon a final farewell, hoping it would learn better in its next life. Astra shifted into Starlight form, boosting all attacks by 500%. His strength stats skyrocketed to 23,000. The Earthshade demon panicked, not expecting the baby dragon to evolve into its adult form. Astra then unleashed Starfall Beam, a devastating laser of cosmic energy that scaled with strength and level, impossible to block. The attack slowly erased the Earthshade demon's body from existence. It couldn't believe it had lost to a human, again. And just like that, the Earthshade demon vanished without a trace. As soon as the demon disappeared, the Dark Tower began shaking violently. Realizing the tower was collapsing, Lufan immediately ordered Nyx and the others to get out. The Dark Tower collapsed crazy fast, like it was trying to bury Lufan and his dragons alive. But no way Lufan was going to die from something that dumb. He and his crew bounced out just in time and even leveled up. Even though he was dead tired, Lufan was pumped. He'd taken down the Earthshade demon and scored a ton of points. The scoreboard flashed Lufan's insane total, 511,000 points. Mr. Han wasn't even surprised. That kid wasn't just carried by his dragons. His own battle instincts were next-level scary. He couldn't even imagine how hard he'd trained to get his dragons to sync up like that. Meanwhile, the Tai Nation Overseer straight up slammed his phone on the floor. Furious his plan had backfired. He stormed out of the VIP room to cook up another scheme. The vice principal was confused by the guy's tantrum, but Mr. Han just shrugged and invited him for tea like nothing happened. Outside, the Tai Overseer was seething. How'd Lufan solo the Earthshade demon when it should have taken 4 of Tai's top heroes? His lackeys scrambled after him. The guy barked at them, demanding to know if they'd maxed out the demon's stats. They swore they did. Still in denial, the Overseer insisted Lufan had to be cheating. Just then, Mr. Han and the Vice Principal casually strolled past him. Mr. Han, all relaxed, mentioned he needed fresh air and a walk. The Tai Overseer hissed at his underlings to keep eyes on Lufan 24/7. He decided to tail Mr. Han himself, hoping to dig up dirt on Lufan. The Vice Principal and Mr. Han kept chatting, totally unaware they were being watched. Out of nowhere, a katana whooshed past the Tai Overseer's head, close enough to shave him. The blade stabbed into the wall beside him. No accident. That was a warning shot. The guy spun around, but the attacker, nowhere in sight. Then it hit him. That was a level 90 Dark Knight Reaper's weapon, one of Mr. Han's guards. The scratch on his cheek was proof. He'd messed up badly, underestimating his crew. This was a back-off message. He noped out of following them, fighting Mr. Han guards. He'd need 100 lives to even try. 10 minutes later, Mr. Han and the Vice Principal headed back to the VIP room. Spotting the sword marks on the wall, Mr. Han instantly pieced it together. Just as he thought, Tai Nation was a total embarrassment. Meanwhile, the Tai Overseer's panicked staff rushed up to him. One handed him a phone that'd been blowing up nonstop. The guy, already losing it, snapped at the poor messenger. Turns out, Tai's higher-ups also thought Lufan cheated and ordered the Overseer to find proof. Back in the VIP room, the Overseer overheard the crowd buzzing about Lufan's points magically climbing while he did nothing. The score kept ticking up, but Lufan wasn't even moving. Smug, the Overseer dialed someone, ready to get Lufan disqualified for cheating. But before he could report anything, he finally saw what was really happening. The Earthshade demon and its army were slaughtering monsters for Lufan, racking up his points. Even the demon's minions were pitching in, and Lufan himself just chilled with his cute dragon girls, kicking back and enjoying the destruction like it was a fireworks show. The scene rewound to an hour earlier, right after Lufan had just stepped out of the Dark Tower. He figured he'd take a quick breather. He definitely deserved it after all that chaos. His 2 fallen corpse dragons caught his eye. noticeably stronger now after taking down the Earthshade demon. Spotting the Earthshade demon's empty throne, an idea suddenly clicked in his head. Back when he and Grandmaster Jing were taming those two fallen corpse dragons, they'd done some wild experiments. Now, Lufan was itching to turn those corpses into puppets. If he could use the Earthshade demon's corpse, controlling them would be a piece of cake. Pumped up, he decided to give it a shot. But after a few tries, the fallen corpse dragons were sweating bullets, totally failing to meet his expectations. It hit him. These things just couldn't puppet a corpse like that. Talk about a letdown. Just as he was about to call it quits, a hand tapped his arm out of nowhere. It was Fei, trying to tell him something, but Lufan had zero clue what she meant. Without missing a beat, Fei shifted into her spirit light form and zipped over to the two dragons. She unleashed every buff skill she had on them, no holding back. The stat boost was insane. What used to be subspecies dragons were now straight-up true dragons. Finally, it made sense. The fallen corpses weren't weak. They just needed a serious upgrade. Lufan ordered Fei to hit them with Jade Light, cranking their total stats up by 60%. Then he had her switch back to eternal form and drop Life Pulse on them. After that insane buff stacking, the two dragons' stats blew past the average Earthshade dragons. Now, they could finally use their fallen corpse ability to control the Earthshade demon's body. A massive hand, the Earthshade demons, slowly clawed its way out of the Dark Tower's wreckage. Then its army started rising too, all level 75 monsters ready to roll. Lufan was stoked. Now he could rack up points while chilling. Perfect setup. Since he'd basically invented a new skill, the system rewarded him with Control the Fallen Corpses. The skill let him command anything that turned into a fallen corpse, summoning them anytime, anywhere, with automatic recovery over time. In other words, dude now had an undead army on speed dial. The Earthshade demon fully emerged, obeying Lufan's every command without question. He couldn't help but smirk. This thing had nearly wiped out Tai country, and now? It was his personal weapon. Heck, he could flatten the whole nation if he felt like it. Back in the present, the overseer of Tai country stood frozen, completely speechless. He chucked his phone and started screaming like a madman, convinced it was all over. Then he caught snippets of a conversation between the vice principal and Mr. Han. Mr. Han, ever the provocateur, threw some shady remarks about Tai country's underhanded tactics, wondering aloud how they'd react now. With a sharp glare, he turned and straight up asked the overseer for his thoughts. The overseer was fuming. First, people doubted the Jin family, and now Mr. Han had the nerve to mock him to his face. No way was he letting Lufan get away with this. Meanwhile, Lufan was still lounging around, enjoying the company of his adorable dragon girls. He checked his mission watch for updates, scrolling through the latest info. Then a new mission popped up on the map, right near his location. In a quiet corner of the mountains, there was a mission point, just waiting to be claimed. A participant, someone who'd crossed paths with Lufan before, was spotted scoping out the mission point. He was totally planning to grab it and finish the mission to score some extra points. But his expression instantly changed when he noticed something moving closer. Dude was shocked to see Lufan walking back into the area. He felt like the unluckiest guy alive running into Lufan again. But then it hit him. If Lufan was here, that meant he'd actually taken down the ancient boss monster. Suddenly, Lufan glanced right at him, completely aware of the guy's presence. The guy panicked and started apologizing, begging Lufan not to finish him off. Lufan just pulled out his dagger, coating it in that eerie black dragon aura. With one swing, he sliced a tree right in front of the guy, making him freak out even more. Turns out, Lufan wasn't after him. He'd just killed a monster that had been sneaking up behind the guy. The guy only then realized he'd been followed this whole time. Grateful, he thanked Lufan for saving him, his attitude doing a complete 180. Lufan didn't care much. He was just passing through and happened to be there. He checked the guy's points and rank and saw he was dead last with barely anything. But Lufan got curious. How'd this guy even get any points without completing missions? The question made the guy super depressed, remembering how he'd stayed up all night hunting monsters for nothing. Meanwhile, Lufan low-key considered stealing his points later, if they ever went up. Out of nowhere, Lufan clapped him on the shoulder and told him to work harder so he wouldn't embarrass the southern nation. As he walked away, Lufan tossed back some half-hearted encouragement to climb the ranks. The guy totally misunderstood, thinking Lufan was rooting for him. He got weirdly emotional. He'd always heard from the southern nation that people from the Dragon Nation were ruthless and arrogant, but Lufan wasn't like the rumors said. He'd even cheered on the same guy who'd tried to kill him earlier. He felt stupid for believing his own country's lies. Little did he know, Lufan had played him. The dude was already swiping the mission right under his nose. Still, the guy made a dumb, determined promise to work harder just to meet Lufan's expectations. But by the time he looked up, Lufan was long gone, leaving him alone in the area. Lufan picked up a PvP mission in the swamp zone. His target was the participant ranked 6th. He tried guessing who it might be, but honestly, it didn't matter. Whoever it was, he just crushed them on sight. Meanwhile, in the damp, shadowy swamp, monsters lurked everywhere, hunting each other. It was a full-on predator showdown. Then Weiji, the rank 10 participant, showed up, confident she could take on anyone. Kirin had already regrouped with her. They were 2 of the 4 who'd formed an alliance. Weiji wondered where Yasen Grai and Badan were. They still hadn't shown up. She hated waiting, and because of them, she was stuck at rank 10. Kirin suggested setting up an ambush once Badan arrived. He just hoped their target would be loaded with points.